Neville Goddard, Who Are the Condemned? Lecture Excerpts, 1964. Let me share with you an experience. I've told you in the past that you're only wearing a garment. This is a garment, whether it be a so-called white garment, a black garment, a yellow garment, a red garment. They're only garments, but I am not white, pink, yellow, or red. I am spirit. I am. Now, I have told you in the past, my closest intimate in this field of mine was Abdullah. I studied with Abdullah for 7 years in New York City, 7 days a week. We were inseparable. Ab was an old man when I met him. He was then about 90. He was born in Ethiopia of the Negro race in the Hebraic faith. That was his background. I was born, as you see, this garment. I've worn this from birth in the Christian faith. And we were inseparable. He taught me scripture as I never heard it from my mother's knee or from my minister or from anyone who taught me the Bible before. It became a book that was alive to me under the guidance of Abdullah. Well, here is a man, you look at him. Here is a Negro, this brilliant, wonderful gentleman. Never once for one moment made any other claim. He would only say to me, I picked up this garment 90-odd years ago in Ethiopia. He always described it as a garment that he wore, just a garment. Well, this morning in my usual ventures in the mind, here I found Abdullah. Ab is gone from this world now. Here stands before me, and Ab was my height, I'm 5'11". Abdullah stands before me, a man not over 50 years old, about 6 feet 5 inches in a Caucasian body. And here is Abdullah before me, no loss of identity, no change of identity, but this majestic figure. And he and I were discussing this theme of tonight. Then he showed me a little instrument with a tape. And then he said, now as you know, Neville, it only echoes, that's all it can do. That's the world. The world is only mechanism. It's just mechanical. The whole vast world, the eternal structure of God's eternal world, all these garments, they're just as mechanical as that. And now you're not going to speak into it. You're only going to hear. You're going to listen, and what you listen to will play back there. What you listen to and hear from within you, as you actually hear it, you'll play it back there. I thought of this party, that party, and whatever I thought of, and the very things I heard as I thought of it, and then he played it back, coming from that tape. Not a word voiced from my vocal cords, just inwardly imagining that I'm hearing the sound of a certain friend's voice, and there comes this mechanical echo playing back. Well, here was this majestic creature Abdullah, 6 feet 5 at the least, towering in this sheer majesty, and here, what he never wore on earth. So I say I saw him in his primal form. He could have presented himself to me in an oriental form. He could have presented himself to me in any form, because all races are at his disposal. For when one rises into the spiritual world, all things are subject to his imaginative power. And when I first met Ab and came into the place, he said to me, you are late, Neville. Called me by my name, never saw the man before. He said, you are late, Neville, 6 months late. I said, I'm late. I never saw you before. How do you know that I'm late? He said, the brothers told me you were coming, and so you are 6 months late. Or 6 months ago, they told me to expect Neville. Neville's coming, and you mustn't leave the city until Neville has received all that you must give him. When you go, he must carry on. And here was this man. I never saw him before. I couldn't remember him. Then he said, you have no memory, but it'll come back. It'll all come back. And then for 7 years, as I told you earlier, we were inseparable. For he taught me Hebrew and taught me the scriptures, both ancient and modern, or rather the old and the new. And I began to experiment with this strange, peculiar power in man. And so, unless one believes in this powerful, wonderful imagination, one is condemned, completely condemned. Why is he condemned? Because he can't get out of what he is. And may I tell you, in eternity you will never lose your identity, not in eternity. Though God became you, and that's the stamp of identity, and when you awake, you are God, and yet you do not lose your identity. But in this world into which you go, you are God, and all things are subject to your imaginative power. And you can clothe yourself at will in any sex. He could have presented himself without loss of identity in the female form, in the form of an Oriental, in the form, as he did last night, of the Caucasian, in the form of a Negro, in any form based upon what he wanted to reveal to me. But he came in that form to confirm what I've been telling you, that you do not lose identity, and that you're not black, white, yellow, pink, or any other color. You're God. God became man, and God is man. So tonight, don't condemn yourself. If you don't condemn yourself, no man in the world can condemn you. They can't do it. If you don't want to share with them at the moment what you're inwardly desiring and planning to accomplish, well, don't share it. But don't waver. You carry on these inner conversations, always from premises of fulfilled desire, and do not waver in the outcome. Be adamant about it. And no power can stop it from coming to pass. They can't stop it. You try it, and you will know from your own personal experience that it can't be stopped. So today I have a problem, and as long as I have that problem, well then, I'm alive to that problem, and the problem is alive to me, and I'm keeping it alive, for life is in me, not in it. And I, by occupancy of that problem, I animate it and make it alive. Now I must detach myself from that state, which is now a problem, and attach myself to the solution of that problem. In doing so, I die to one and live to the other. So he said, I die every day. Every day he's faced with a problem, and now he knows how to die by giving up one state and entering another state. And he makes the state that he enters alive. Why? Because life is in himself. So my plea to you, if you were trained as I was trained, listened as I had to, first I had to die to all of these beliefs, and so completely die to them. I did not know how to explain that to my mother. I didn't want to hurt her, didn't want to hurt my father. They were trained as I was trained, and then to confront those that you love dearly. You cannot enter into the conversation that formerly would be a normal part of an evening's discussion. For you took for granted the historicity of the Bible, and now you can't take it at all. It's a mystery. It's not secular history at all, it's divine history. The whole thing is unfolding in the soul of man, and everyone is destined to play all the things claimed of Christ Jesus. To be supernaturally born as he was supernaturally born, and to be one who discovers his own fatherhood, one with God the Father, one who was lifted up in the same manner that he said, when you lift me up, then you'll know that I am he, and it will have everything recorded about him actually transpire. And it will have everything recorded about him actually transpire in the soul of yourself, and the whole thing then becomes something very personal. And you know it is true of every being in the world. When it begins to unfold, the end is in sight, and then you are departing from this age into that age, already prepared for those who are being lifted from this age. But all will be lifted from this age. And so you will be supernaturally born, not through the womb of woman, that's a natural birth. You will discover that you have no father to this birth, no mother, you're self-begotten. So the question is then asked of you in the depth of your soul, where is your father? And you answer, if you knew me, you wouldn't ask, because you'd know who I am if you really knew me. Then who are you? Even what I've told you from the beginning, that's what he answers. Even what I've told you from the beginning, and now you don't know me, said he, but I'll tell you just what I was from the beginning. And then everyone will then meet in this eternity, all fused into one body without loss of identity. And that body is the most radiant body that you could ever conceive. And it's God the Father, and you are he. All one, and not one lost in all God's holy mountain. not one condemned ever by God. He is not a God of retribution. He is a God of infinite love. And so no one will be lost, and all will be raised to the nth degree of beauty, of perfection, majesty, and every attribute of the world you can think of raised to the nth degree, and that's you. Now tonight, put this to the test. You put it to the test tonight in the things of life, like a better job and more money on it, a better home, more security, everything in this world that you want. Don't ask anyone if it's possible. You do it just by inwardly carrying on the conversation with yourself from the premise that it's done. And see it happen in your world. You take this discussion with someone, they may say to you, well, you know, it would have happened anyway. And then comes the great accuser of the world, the great doubter of the world. But he knows nothing. The doubter of the world, because he doesn't know that you are not the garment that you wear. The doubter of the world, and he thinks that your exit from this world through the gate of death is your final departure for all time. But he doesn't know who you are. He thinks that when you came into this world, you began for the first time. He doesn't know who you are. You came from God, and you return to God. Because wherever you picked it up, regardless of the race, the nation, you only picked it up for educative purposes. And then while you're walking this earth, then without notice to you, a sudden unfolding within you of a series of mystical events which forces you to leave it. And you're leaving this world forever, but still leave it behind for those who are being woven into it for the same educative purpose. Now let us go. Good.